Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 6 of the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup taking place at Sardegna Windmills with the Toyota GR Yaris. Let's get this started. Just a quick note, when you're about to start a new lap, there are 2 jumps that you need to be very aware of, and the way that I like to take them is to either shift up just before making the first jump like now, or to lift off of throttle a bit to try to stabilize the car. But anyways, bring yourself towards the right and start to brake just before you reach this bush that is on the right. Use some of your braking power so you can still have the ability to turn. Bring yourself towards the left, and just after you make the little jump, lift off of throttle, and then you want to brake when you reach this dirt patch that extends to the left. Brake hard for a short moment, turn in as much as you can, and start to accelerate as soon as you can. Just bring yourself all the way to the left side of the track, and then bring yourself towards the right, and look for the start of the white banners that are on the right, as that is your next braking point. Brake hard for a short moment, and gradually transition over from the braking to the throttle. Try not to go too far onto the right so you don't hit the walls. There's going to be 2 jumps here, so you go through the first one right here. Then for the second jump, this is where you start to turn in, going flat out. Just bring yourself all the way to the right side of the track, and then get really close to the wall on the left. Look for the second hay bale that is on the right, so you want to brake right around here. This is where you start to brake for a while at full braking power. You can use a bit of braking and throttle to try to position the car to where you want to go. Gradually accelerate on second gear, and this is where you need to do a lot of throttle control to make sure you don't hit the rev limiter. Quick burst of braking to whip the car around the final hairpin and start to fully accelerate. And as I mentioned earlier in the guide, you can either shift up just before you make the first jump or lift off of throttle, as these 2 jumps, it's really easy to make the car unstable. Just be aware that this lessens the chance of making the car unstable, but there's still that risk. But anyways, let's move on over towards the qualifying strategies. So I'm going to be using the footage from a Nations Cup race that we had a while ago here at Sardegna Windmills, since the qualifying format and strategy is very similar to the upcoming Yaris race. So 5-minute qualifying session, so you'll get 2 to 3 chances to try to get the best qualifying time possible. And just like in this race in the past, you want to qualify alone. The thing is that in these kinds of races where it involves an off-road track, you're going to come across people who have very different paces. So it's not like your usual FIA race where everyone is around similar pace. With these kinds of races, the pace of everyone in your lobby is going to be drastically different. So you basically just want to be far away from everyone. Give yourself as much space as possible before you're starting your qualifying lap. So for example, in this case, I think I'm at least 4 to 5 seconds between myself and the next car, which should be more than enough for me to be able to get a qualifying lap done without any interruptions. And that is a key thing here. You don't want to get interrupted. You don't want to have to deal with trying to get another car around another car, because if you have to do that in your qualifying session, you're going to lose a lot of time, because you pretty much just want to focus on getting the best qualifying time possible. Focus on all your turns, your braking points, and all that good stuff without getting interrupted by another car. So right now, once again, I'm around 5 seconds behind the next car, which should be more than enough time for me to be able to get my lap done without getting interrupted by anyone. So at the end of the day, you'll get 2 to 3 chances to try to get the best qualifying time possible. Once again, just try to be far away from everyone so you can completely focus down on getting all these turns nailed down, because if you make even a little mistake, that will cost you quite a bit of time. So it's all about nailing those turns down and getting that perfect qualifying time, because this qualifying session is going to be ultra important. But anyways, let's move on over towards the race section of the guide. So we are doing 10 laps at Sardegna Windmills with the Toyota GR Yaris. This is a one-make race. The fuel and tire wear are both at time 0, and well, because they're at time 0, this is basically a 0-stop race. If anything, I would focus on just trying to get the qualifying times nailed down so you can try to qualify as high up as possible, because trying to get a pass done here at Windmills is really difficult. At least it's not difficult without having to get really aggressive on the car that you're trying to pass, and that is going to be a thing that will be happening in this race. People will be getting aggressive with each other, and well, I'll show a clip of that in a bit. And if there's one turn that you really want to focus down, it is turn 6. So it is the left turn before the end of sector 2 right here. You don't want to hit the hay bales. You don't want to go too far to the right to end up hitting the wall. And yeah, if you hit those, you're going to end up losing a lot of time, and there is a lot of time that can be found just on that turn itself. So if there's one turn that you really want to focus down on, it is turn 6 at the end of sector 2. And once again, just make sure you're able to nail down every single turn. Don't make a mistake. The closer you get to an error-free drive, the much harder it will be for those behind to try to make a move on you. And just take advantage of the mistakes those in front of you make. If they make a mistake, it's time to go for the attack. And in this run, for some reason, I just couldn't string together a decent lap, and I ended up with a 14-minute flat. So your race, it'll be around the 14-minute mark. So it's a bit of a short race, which is going to make people want to get really aggressive in these 10 laps. And you'll actually see an example of that happening. So going back to the Nations Cup race, because these two races, they're very similar. It's just that you're using different cars. So for example, you're going to see that I go a bit wide through the twistier parts of the track, which is going to allow Lester to try to sneak on in, and he does get pretty aggressive. We do make a bit of contact, but I was able to hold off the position. And once again, one lap later, he's going to go for the move again, and he's going to get a lot more aggressive. And once again, that's going to be a thing in this race. People are going to get really aggressive to try to take the position, so get ready for a bit of aggression and get ready to fight back. But you can also get some really epic racing like right now. Gosh, that was such a good race. But anyways, in terms of places to overtake, there isn't really a good place to overtake. It's going to be very dependent on who in front of you messes up and if you can try to squeeze on by. But I do want to mention that the penalty serving zone is at the start of sector 3, so just after you make the really hard left turn, here is the penalty serving zone. So if you have any penalty to serve, you'll be serving it over here, which means you're going to lose a buttload of time if you do have to serve a penalty. And be aware that over here, this is actually going to be the place where you might see the most overtakes happen, especially with how easy it is to go a bit wide, and that can allow for some cars to try to squeeze on in, just like how you saw earlier in the clip. But other than that, in terms of places to overtake, it's really difficult to say. It's mostly going to come down to if the car in front of you messes up or opens up just a bit to where you can try to slide on by. But anyways, that's all from me. I'm going to keep this guy nice and short, so it's time for me to sign off now. So I'll see you guys in the next video.